Hi everyone, we are now live, just giving people a chance to join and just looking at the number of people who are here and seeing if we're going to get any more. Can you just say hi in the chat just to make sure that the audio is working and you can hear me okay and you can see me okay and you can see the slides? One person can hear me and see me. Okay, we've got a few more. Lovely. Okay. Thanks, guys. All right, so we'll just keep saying hi. I'll introduce myself and I'll talk to you about what we're going to do today. Essentially, we're going to go through John Gottman's model of the sound relationship house, and I'll tell you more about John Gottman in a moment. Okay, acknowledgement of country, Yam Gumangea Jagun. Acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands upon which I live, love, work, and play, which is the Gumbaynggirr peoples. I pay my respects and express my gratitude to their elders past, present, and emerging for their continuing custodianship of this country over countless generations. Also, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people who are present with us here today. The connection between acknowledgement of country and the webinar today is relationship. As in Western cultures, we have an attitude towards the world that is embedded in our language and pervades the whole of the way that we do self, we do society, we do culture, which is very much a model of self and object. Here's an apple, I eat the apple, and it's all embedded into our language. In Indigenous cultures around the world, not all of them, but many of them, the language doesn't imply subject object; it implies relationship between. And so, it's me eating the apple. And so it's a lovely way of thinking about the world, because instead of the Western, it's me, egocentric, I'll consume, I'll take, it's just everything is here for my use. A language and a culture that's embedded in relationships is a language of we. Me and the country, and me and the trees, and me and the animals, and we are all a part of this together. And that's a good way of sort of setting the scene for our relationship conversations today. So I am Nigel Polak, psychotherapist, counsellor, coach. I just got told before I joined that I got the highest ratings of highest sort of not success ratings, but like satisfaction ratings of coaches at Uprise. So that's exciting for me, and people are happy with what I present. So that's really nice, and happy with what I do with them when I work with them. That's really lovely to know as well. Don't get much feedback in my line of work, to be honest. Do the work that we do, and hope that it has an impact, but don't always get that feedback. So I invite you to be an active participant in this conversation. Post your questions and responses in the chat. Let's have a conversation. People often start off shy, but if you'll find that the more people that are engaged, the easier it is to participate, because you don't feel like you're the only one. So I've already said to people, say hi, and when you say hi, it just gets your fingers on the keyboard, gets you into the space, and makes it a friendly place to be. And our numbers have doubled in the last 3 minutes. So welcome everybody, and welcome to the people who are still joining us. All right, so the foundation of what we're doing today, and this is all I'm going to do, it's only a 30-minute webinar, but it's enough, and it's a lot. So John Gottman is a relationship researcher. He did a lot of groundbreaking work. When you sort of step into the relationship counselling and therapy space, you'll start to see a lot of John Gottman's work. What he did that was very, very really sort of took the field ahead in leaps and bounds was he managed to get funding to set up a apartment. I think it was in New York City, but a big city apartment where he could have couples come and stay and spend a number of days, 2 or 3 days, and then have everything that they did video recorded. And what they were interested in is the way that the couples related to one another. So you can imagine like hundreds of couples, thousands and thousands of hours of video, and then people meticulously go, obviously graduate students, because that's what graduate students do, meticulously going through the video material and categorizing the kinds of actions and inactions that people had towards one another. Then they did follow-up. So they said, okay, well, let's see how they interact with one another. Let's rate them on these different scales, and let's see what happens in 6 years in a follow-up. And what they were looking for was primarily who was still together, who was satisfied in their relationship. And through that, they were able to create really good correlations between the micro actions that took place between a couple and the likelihood of that couple staying together in the long term. So really helpful, powerful research. To simplify all of the findings of that research, and there was a huge amount, and he's still sort of, I think he's still kind of really bringing out the finer insights from that work. John Gottman came up with the Sound Relationship House. And the reason I say John Gottman over and over again, because if I don't, then I'll be plagiarizing his work. And so I'm not, I'm sharing his work with you. And he's come up with this concept of the Sound Relationship House. How do you build a good relationship? Now, we are talking primarily about intimate relationships here. I've assumed that you've come here to focus on intimate relationships. Nevertheless, the information is relevant for all relationships, relationships with your children, relationships with your siblings, relationships with your parents, and relationships with your colleagues, your employees, your managers, your bosses, and your clients and your customers. And if you want to build a good relationship in any of those spaces, then the tips that you're going to get here today are going to be of good service to you in all those spaces. So you can see that it's got two walls, trust and commitment. And then you've got these layers: build love maps, share fondness and admiration, turn towards instead of away, take the positive perspective, manage your conflict effectively, make your life dreams come true, and create shared meaning. And so we'll go through each of those one at a time today. All right, so to get a bit of a pulse, take the pulse a little bit on our who's here today, and the numbers are still going up. We've tripled since we first began at 12:30. So again, welcome to the people who are joining us. We're going to try and get people to just contribute. But how long have you been in your current relationship? And if you haven't, if you're single at the moment, that's absolutely fine. A lot of single people are really interested in relationships because they want to know how to have a good one. As a counselor and coach, I work with a lot of individuals, helping them think about the kind of relationship that they want and then how they want to be in that relationship. Lots of longs, 16, 12, 0, some mediums, some 4s, some 5s, some 3s, some 6s, some really long ones, 41. That's absolutely fantastic. And you're here still learning. So well done, 9 months, 10. Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Keep sharing. All right. So this is a different question. So I'll let you just finish up with the how long have you been in your current relationship? And the next one is how many serious, intimate, in-love relationships would you say that you've had? How many times have you been in love? If I stop and count, I would say probably only twice if I've really been in love, though the number of intimate relationships I've had, it starts to, starts to add up. I was in my 20s in the 90s, and it was a fun time. So I had lots of relationships, but only I would say 2, 3, make it 3 where I would say I was in love. Yeah. So we've all had lots of intimate relationships, and they all haven't worked out. We've been in love, but that hasn't been enough for that relationship to actually work. Thanks for that share, 10 plus. I love it. Some people are in love with being in love, and being in love is a fantastic feeling, but it is not the best. It's a necessary foundation for a long-lasting loving relationship, but it's not the best foundation for a long-lasting loving relationship. All right, so this is the one for you to think about. You feel free to share if you want to, but this is just to think about: how confident are you that you gave your very best in each of those relationships? It's one to make you reflect on: how did you show up in those relationships, including your relationship? How are you showing up? How how confident are you that you really showed your best self, that you really gave that relationship its best chance of success? I love the very confidence. Yeah, and we often feel we gave our best in our relationships. But could you say that you were? Yeah, could you say that I was always, or you were always right? And someone's already said no. It doesn't mean that I feel very confident, but it doesn't mean that I was always right. And doesn't mean that you were always doing the right thing. And we do. We all give our best, but we don't necessarily know what that actually means. What if you knew a better way? Would you take it? So, foundations. Okay, this is the foundations is what I'm calling the marital friendship. In our Sound Relationship House, it was called Create Love Maps. And the idea here is that you're, at the foundation of a relationship isn't, of a long-lasting relationship isn't love, but that you're friends, that you actually know your partner's inner world really well. You actually know who they are. So how well do you know your current partner's inner world? How well have you known your previous partner's inner world? What would you say, would you be confident in knowing what their likes and dislikes are? Do you know what makes them happy? If you had to tell their life story, this is an interesting one to put your mind to. If you had to tell their life story, could you? And how well would you tell that story? Would you get the details right? Would you get the chronology right? Would you know who their best friends were? And would you know who their best friends are now? And would you be able to talk about why those people are their best friends in terms of their shared history and in terms of their mutual interests and what it is that's brought them together? So how well do you know your partner as a person? Okay, that's the ground floor. In terms of creating, they call them love maps. Love maps is actually having literally a map in your head of who your partner is in all of their complexity. So that's what that refers to. In couples therapy, we'll sometimes actually do that on paper. So particularly if I'm running a group for couples. So the first floor. So you've got your foundation, know your partner, and actually be their friend. The first floor is actually share fondness and admiration. Articulate the reasons that you love your partner. Actually say it. I was working with a really lovely couple yesterday. They've got so much going on. He's obviously a really nice guy, really loves her. She's a lovely girl. She loves him. Blended family. They've already got kids from other partners. So they've already sort of had relationships that haven't been long-term, but didn't work out. But he's like, yeah, I love you and I'm committed, and why would you think differently? And she's like, because you never tell me. And when we have a fight, you walk out the door and say, I can't do this anymore. And so I don't know how much you care about me. I don't feel reassured that you love me. He's like, that's just stupid. And she's like, well, that's hurtful to say that's stupid. But he's like, of course I do. And it's like, that's not enough. Figure out what you love about them. Yeah. Think about what they do that makes you feel happy. What do you love seeing in them that makes you happy? My partner does the washing. We have a very egalitarian household. I'm a big vacuumer. She hates vacuuming, but she does the washing. The idea of I'm a big guy and getting little pegs and with little kids and hanging them up. Oh my God. Ugh. So she does the washing. Oh my God. Every time. She won't put my washing away, but every time I see the washing folded on the bed ready to put away, I'm like, thank you so much. I love that you do the washing. It makes me happy. When do you feel proud of them? What is it that you see your partner doing? Parenting, actually engaging with you in the relationship, engaging with friends. Do you ever get to go to work functions and see them at work and get to admire them from a distance? And do you then express your pride and admiration for them? When do you appreciate them? Yeah. What is it about what they do that gives you a sense of, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm with you? And how often do you verbalize that? Because there is not too much. Yeah. So many of us are so reserved and so reticent to share, our feelings and our observations. And it's a habit. It's not something that comes naturally. It's not like, oh yeah, thank you for doing this and doing that. I've learned over the years to say thank you for everything. Thanks for making dinner. Thanks for unpacking the dishwasher. Thanks for doing the shopping. Thanks for putting the shopping away. Really appreciate that. I love that you did that today because I didn't have to do it. That's wonderful. I love it when we're out and about and you're working the room and people love chatting with you. I really love that about you. I share that with my partner. Okay, second floor. Turn towards instead of away. This is really tricky. So we all make bids for affection. And a bid for affection is any attempt to get our partner to pay attention to us. Now, like 2-year-old children, I always like to say to people, we are 2-year-olds in grown-up bodies. Yeah, but I know he doesn't look like a 2-year-old. He looks like a grown man. Therefore, he should act like a grown man. Yeah, I'm sorry that grown man and that grown woman, they are a 2-year-old in a grown-up's body because that 2-year-old is still there. And when they want attention, sometimes they yell and they scream and they stamp their foot and they complain and they whinge and they nag. That's a bid for affection. and attention. So when they give a bid for attention or affection, they make a gesture to elicit a response from you. Sometimes it's not always clear. It's like, what, you wanted my attention? I just thought you were waving your hands around in the air strangely. What you need to do is you always need to turn towards that bid for affection. Yeah. So you respond with what they need, and often what they're expressing doesn't tell you what they need, but they want something from you. And the challenge is to figure out what it is that they want. And sometimes, and I used to actually physically do this to myself. My partner would be, there you go, the hand. My hand started talking before I did. She was at me. Now, most men will be aware of this scenario of like, oh God, here we go. Oh, here we go. And the face just goes, oh, no, what is it now? You know, I can't, I've got enough going on. My work's busy. The kids are full on. My parents are at me. And what do you want from me now? And all I want to do is just go, oh, just leave me alone. Hi, you want something. What is it? Turn towards your partner when they are bidding for your attention or for your affection. When we consistently turn away from our partners or we turn against them, so this is turning towards, okay, what's going on? But turning against is, and we go at each other. But you want this and you want that, and I can't do that for you, and you always want these things from me, and you're unreasonable. That is an against. Now, that is always going to erode the relationship. And in the research, that was one of the best signs that if couples turned away from each other consistently, or couples turned against each other consistently, that was one of the best signs that the relationship wasn't going to last. When you notice and turn towards each other's bids for affection, you end up creating a safe space for you both to express yourselves and your needs. It's safe, but it's not free of tension. In fact, it's very often full of tension. And it's that tension that creates the discomfort in our bodies that wants us to turn away. But if we can force ourselves to turn towards in openness and receptivity, then that is going to do wonders for our relationships. These are the examples. So I'll put this is the only time I put the examples up, because I wanted to let you see some examples. Little things like, how do I look? Did you see that squirrel? Could you take the dog for a walk? While you're up, can you grab that? Let's help grandma outside. Do you like my drawing? How were the cookies? Phoebe's on the way. Can you give her our address? Let me know what happened when he came back. Tell me about your day. What happened then? What have you been up to? Did you hear the joke about, I've been cooking all day, I'm so tired. Help me something. Greta wants to go on a walk, but my foot hurts. Come cuddle me with me while I read. Let's get the chessboard. Do you want to explore the woods tomorrow? Join me in learning something. All opportunities to sort of connect with our partners. And often we forget about connection in when we do relationship work with couples or in groups. We talk about one partner, the other partner, and this is this very kind of Western Anglo way of looking at it, and that they're kind of, there's me and there's you, and that then kind of creates us. But in couples work, what we talk about is that there's this third entity, and it's called the relationship. And the relationship as an entity is built on this thing called connection. And so what we're constantly trying to do in a relationship is be conscious of and attentive to the feeling of connection in the relationship. And what we've got our ears tuned into is our partner's sense of connection to the relationship. So the couple I saw yesterday, I was just talking about, he's like, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm just going out and going to do some mad stuff. I feel great in the relationship. But she's not feeling great. She's feeling insecure. She's feeling unsure. She doesn't know whether he's in or he's out. He's halfway in, he's halfway out. But he's like, I'm super confident. I feel like we're solid as. Don't need to do anything. So he's missing her when she's going, hey, are we good? Are we good? Can you connect with me? He's like, I don't need to connect with you because we're solid as. So yeah, see you later. But he's missing that she's needing that connection. And what I helped him with yesterday was tuning into this idea that she's looking for connection and she wants connection. She needs connection, and it's not obvious to her like it is to him. Third floor, adopting a positive perspective. What would it be like if you always assumed that your partner had the best intentions? Yeah, that they might be doing it all wrong, that they might be missing you left, right, and center, but at their heart, they genuinely want what's best for you and for the relationship. This is true. This is actually true. I've worked with hundreds of couples, and this is true every single time. It doesn't look like that from the outside often. I had another couple yesterday, and they were just at each other, just hateful, spiteful, one-upping, just the nastiest things thrown at each other. But as we worked, it became clear that, they'd say, I thought that's what you wanted. I thought that's what you needed. I thought that's what we needed to do to make us better. But over decades, it's just gone from miscommunication to bad to worse to misunderstanding towards you hate me. Obviously, you hate me. How could you behave in such a way if you didn't hate me? I don't hate you. I love you, and I'm trying to work out how to make this work, but I'm really, really frustrated. So can you see the best in your partner? Can you try to listen past how they say it and try and listen to what they're trying to say? And we're not all that. A lot of us aren't that good at articulating what we want and need. This is me. Here's me presenting to you about relationships, and my partner's like, "Oh my God, you can't communicate." And what my partner always says to me, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. She doesn't have an English accent, by the way, but that just arrived. But she's always taking offense at the way that I said something. I'm like, how? I don't even know how. What do you mean how I said it? Oh, it's the way you said it that's so annoying or so frustrating or so rude or so. It's like, okay, but can you listen to what I'm trying to say? She actually couldn't a lot of the time. But imagine if she could. Imagine if you could. Try not to respond with criticism, because often when we respond with criticism, what we're doing is we're being defensive. So try not to respond defensively. When we respond defensively, if we feel criticized, and we often feel criticized when our partner makes an observation or offers a suggestion, when our partner offers a suggestion, oh, why don't you do it this way? Yeah, they've got a good intention. They're thinking, oh, it's going to be easy this way. It's going to be cheaper that way. It's going to be better that way. But we're like, oh, now you're criticizing the way I did it. I've been painting the deck. My partner's like, well, you shouldn't have done it this way, and you shouldn't have done that way, and you shouldn't have done this. You should have. The weather was all wrong. It's going to be sticky forever. And I'm like, I've just spent 4 hours painting the bloody deck. Don't tell me that it's not okay. And it would be easy for me to go, and I probably did if I'm honest, to go, yeah, well, what about when you did this thing wrong, and what about when you did that thing wrong? And bang, we're into it. What if you believe that your partner was always on your side? Yeah, no matter how it sounded, no matter what silly thing they were saying, no matter what clumsy effort they made, you actually just believed that they were there to try and help you with whatever you're doing. All right, next floor, manage conflict. So one of the things I hear a lot from people is, why do we have to have conflict? Isn't a good relationship a conflict-free relationship? The answer is brief and to the point. No. There is no such thing as a relationship without conflict. Relationships must have conflict. We are two different human beings living two different lives and forced by social structures into a shared life that then has all sorts of laws governing it. And then we introduce children, and then we introduce property, and we introduce mortgages, and we've got in-laws, and there's conflict inherent in it. So we've got to deal with it. All right, so if we have to deal with it, we may as well do it well. Step 1, talk about your problems, share your concerns. Try and create a space in your relationship where it's okay to talk about problems, share concerns. In Gottman's work, he actually calls a spade, and he says they're complaints. Yeah, and everybody is entitled to their complaints. And if you've got a complaint about the dishes left on the sink, the towels on the bathroom floor, the dirty laundry that's not in the dirty laundry spot, the lawn that hasn't been mowed, that's all fair, and everybody's entitled to their complaint. In response to that, we need to be able to accept our partner's influence. Often we resist our partner's influence. And I'm trying to think of a example, but I'm like, every example I've got again. 2 people going, you've got more power than me. You've got more power than me. And the dynamic in our culture is like, for women, men have more power. Yeah, no one, very few people, occasionally man does, but very few men deny that. But in a relationship, very often it's the man that feels disempowered, because he feels emotionally and verbally outgunned by his female partner. And I'm also thinking about same-sex relationships here and all the diversity of relationships. But there's this dynamic of, I feel like you've got the power, I feel like you've got the power. So what do? We kind of resist our partner's influence because we're scared that if we do what our partner thinks is right, or if we listen to what they think should be done, then they will subsume us within them. And that terrifies us. So we resist it. Try and open yourself up. It's a bit like turning towards. Accept your partner's influence. Listen to their feelings and their wishes. Feelings. Yeah, feelings. Men out there, I'm sorry guys, but we're mostly problem solvers. We love solving problems. If you want to see a funny video, look up It's Not About the Nail on YouTube. It's Not About the Nail. Hilarious little video about one of the really common problems and issues that we see in relationships. Men want to fix the problem. Men want to, and sometimes it's flipped, trust me. Sometimes it's women going, hey, that's not logical. That's not reasonable. You're not being rational here. You've got to be able to listen to feelings. You've got to be able to listen to wishes. You've got to be able to listen to dreams. And you've got to be able to willing to hear and understand. And then when you get a volcano coming up, it's important that you learn what you need to bring that down. And you can't expect it from your partner. One of the big tools that we teach in managing conflict is for one person, so often in a relationship, there's one person who wants to go. You might have heard people say, don't go to bed on an argument. So you got one partner who's like taught, don't go to bed on an argument. The other partner is like, has been taught, don't do conflict at all. Conflict bad, don't do conflict. And so what happens is you get one person going, we've got to deal with this, other person going, oh, I've got to get away from this. And then you're sort of in this chase. Eventually, if one person, the person who's being sort of pursued, they call them the distancer, sorry, the person who's being pursued by the pursuer, the distance, if they find themselves pinned in a corner and all their adrenals and their internal system goes crazy, they're going to come fighting out of that corner. So learning to go, hey, we need to break. And the thing we teach people is to say, let's take a break and let's come back to this tomorrow, or let's come back to this in a couple of hours. This couple that I worked with yesterday, the same couple, really great. They figured that out and they had a big blue between sessions and they said, okay, let's stop and let's talk about it tomorrow. Now, the pursuer is satisfied with having a date to come back to. If the distancer says, I can't do this, I've got to get out of here, the pursuer's like, when are we going to deal with this? We can't leave this alone. You've got to deal with it. But if they're like, we'll deal with it tomorrow at 2:00, they're like, okay, I'll park it till then. See you then. So learn how to park your conflicts. All right, watching the time. 5th floor, work on the other person's dreams. Now, it's about making both of your dreams come true and valuing both of your dreams. But you probably already do want the best possible life for your partner. You probably do want to encourage their goals. But if you don't, make sure you do. Help them to achieve their goals. What do they want? What do they want out of their life? Help them with that. Follow through on your commitments. Make both of your dreams come true. Because if two people living together have their individual dreams coming true as part of their life trajectory, that's two really happy people. The top floor, the final floor, is creating shared meaning. Asking the question, who are you as a couple? You know each other as knowing one another as friends. That was the foundation. That was the love maps. Now the top floor is know yourselves as a unity. Who are we? What are our special places? What symbolizes us? What are our symbols of who we are? What are our private rituals and in-jokes? What are those moments that we've shared together that come up every now and again in a joke form? Years ago, decades ago now, with my partner, we had a friend and he was doing this weird teenage, hey, Bubba Rooney, cool, Rooney, good to see you, Rooney. And he was doing this weird Rooney thing. And then my partner and I were like just taking the piss out of him, literally, and saying, oh, this a Rooney, that a Rooney. And then it stuck. And guess what our nicknames for one another are now? I'm Rooney, she's Rooney. Roons, Rooney, Tooney, those are our nicknames for one another. So that's a little private thing that we've created between us. What makes the two of you, you? What makes us, us? All right, the walls. This is the last bit, so we're just finishing in time. I think someone's going to put a link in the chat to a feedback form. If you've got any questions, now's the time to ask them, and I'll answer them if I can. So what are the walls? The walls that hold the whole building up are commitment and trust. And this is a quote from the Gottman website. In a healthy, supportive relationship, two people make the decision to have faith in each other and stick together. They freely love one another and pledge to help that love grow. So they believe and have faith that the other one will stay by them through thick and thin. And then they make a commitment to make the relationship work. All right. Well, I'm going to leave it there. Please complete the feedback form. We've got lots of modules in the Uprise app that you can help to work on both relationships, particularly at work, but also on yourself and your own mental health. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.